Welcome to Trash Talk.
Welcome to this episode of Trash Talk. Today, Will Brinker, Andy Muir, and Mike Fenton will dive into the history of the Landfill Group. They'll explore the company's journey, how it has evolved and grown over the years, and the incredible strong culture they have built to keep it thriving.
Landfills have been part of my life since early childhood. If we were traveling somewhere for vacation and we saw a large mountain that did not belong somewhere, especially if we saw a flame at night that looked like a mountain was on fire, our family was stopping. And that was how my dad really got his start, was just knocking on doors and kind of creating business.
The history of the Landfill Group is one born from Enerdine Power Systems. It's an interesting story of how it came to be. It was a maintenance shop at a county blowing up one morning when a mechanic opened a door and flipped a light switch. The building happened to be sitting on an old closed landfill, and Bill Brinker, our founder, and his brother-in-law happened to be in the area doing some drilling work completely unrelated to landfill gas. The county asked them to come and drill some relief wells to be able to get rid of that gas. So Bill thought, man, there's got to be a use for this gas, and let's go find that.
He's definitely one of the pioneers of our industry. Having a conversation with Bill at that point in time when he was, really getting the business up and running, he was chasing shiny things and making this thing go. And at certain points, I'm sure everybody thought he was crazy, but here we are now.
In the beginning, it was pretty simple projects. Section 29 tax credits financed a lot of it. Some pretty hefty credit card debt to kind of bootstrap the company up from the ground up. In the first 10 years, so call it 91 to 2001, built out about 20 projects in that period, a lot of direct use.
So where we take gas from a landfill, do minimum cleanup, are able to put it into a direct pipeline that we build and co-fire with natural gas. So you blend raw landfill gas, slightly treated or dehydrated, with conventional natural gas, and the end user doesn't know, that there's any difference between the two whenever it's being used in their fuel source. There's some small modifications that might have to be done to the equipment, but a lot of our projects in the early 90s were direct use projects. Then we started doing a lot of power projects. We've pretty much used every make and model engine out there: Yenbacher, Waukesha, Deutz, Caterpillar. Did several turbine projects. Started building RNG plants. Have used pretty much every technology there. Co-developed a Selexol plant with the Moros in Texas. Have used membrane technology, both Air Liquide and Avonic. Have done PSA systems. So pretty well-rounded in each of the three main categories of utilizing landfill gas, so direct use, power, and pipeline quality. Timeline-wise, in 1998, I think I was 13 or 14 at that time. That was my first real exposure working on a landfill. And I would drive with one of my dad's superintendents to two projects in North Carolina 6 days a week, and got to learn all of the kind of basic construction functions in landfill gas. So how to fuse pipe, how to pour concrete, I helped set wells, learned to drive heavy construction equipment, learned to more proficiently drive motor vehicles. Really from 98 through 2006, when I graduated college, for that 8-year stint of high school and college, I started running small construction crews. Actually, Andy, who you guys will interview here in a little bit, was one of my first friends that got his driver's license when he was 16 years old. And I was like, you have a driver's license, I got work, you need a job. And we started cruising to landfills and started doing maintenance work.
From a really young age, met William and his family. I was the new kid from New York, and Will, was kind enough to talk to the new guy and invite me to hang out after practice or on the weekends or whatever, and kind of hit it off from there, I guess. Bill and Mary definitely became almost like a second mother, father, like family. I remember eating dinner over at the house all the time. They were very welcoming. Summertime came around after our freshman year of high school, and Will offered me a part-time job. And obviously I took it. Obviously saw the company go through a lot of growing pains and learning curves and everything like that. We really didn't have much of a safety protocol from the beginning, working with our shirts off, no high vis. We're more worried about our suntan rather than making sure that we were wearing our safety gear. So at first I was very hands-on, being a pipe fitter, operating equipment. Will out there in the field with us, he stepped into more of a superintendent type manager role right out the gate. Slowly but surely kind of backed out of the field where it provided opportunity for myself and a couple other people to step into that position. And, we were pinching every penny. We were riding 4 or 5 guys deep in a truck to get to a job site, sharing hotel rooms. It was just really, really important to make every penny count, every move count. I think that mentality has really set the tone throughout the years and even into today. We've changed from a cowboy style, long days, long weeks with no limits, work with what you have mindset to a more family-oriented, look out for each other, think before you act mindset. We're still learning and evolving when it comes to safety, and this will never stop. We now have an HSE team that has helped the Landfill Group improve our safety culture and safety awareness, and it just continued to evolve from there.
Kind of throughout college, I started kind of putting some of the pieces of the puzzle together because we were actually doing work 3 times as fast as the conventional crews that were out there and for about 1/3 of the cost. We were making $8 or $9 an hour and working 70, 80 hours a week, thinking that we were like tonning it as kids, but still not making anything compared to what a third-party contractor was making. But again, we were doing it for significantly less cost and a lot more output. So in 2006, I wanted to start a construction company, which is actually what I thought I wanted to do before going to college. Almost didn't go to college. I'm glad my parents encouraged me to do that and get a degree, because for those 4 years, I was able to reflect on all the things that I'd been doing kind of throughout high school and apply it to the concepts I was learning in college. So if you look at all of my college notebooks, it was, hey, apply this concept to the business, because I thought that's in all likelihood where I was going to make a career. You're always going to have trash. You're always going to need power. Seemed like a good career path, and I had a good foot in the door. In 2005 is when my father sold the vast majority of his portfolio to Detroit Edison. And in 2006, when I graduated, we decided to form our construction company, Advance One. And for a couple years, Advance One just did third-party construction work. A lot of that work was for Detroit Edison. And then we started bidding on other projects. And in 2008, my first development opportunity came to fruition. It was actually technically 2007 with our Greenville Gas Producers project in Greenville, South Carolina. We bid it on as a contractor. That was actually my first biggest mistake that ended up being a blessing. We way underbid the construction project, mainly on one component, which was our blower flare station. I trusted my father, loved the man. He gave me a bad number. He said, put in $200,000. This will be sufficient for this line item. I bid that line item. We won the bid by several $100,000, and it was a sub $1 million job, just to give you like an order of magnitude. When I went to go buy that component, I couldn't even buy the component for under $360,000, and that didn't include shipping it or installing it or anything else associated with that scope. So we were way behind the 8 ball out of the gate. We worked with the engineer of record, and they allowed us to build that flare station on our own as long as we could meet the specifications. And we did just that. We built our first flare station on my grandfather's farm in a field. We met spec, and we actually, what's interesting, we still own and operate that piece of equipment today, and it runs flawlessly. So from that point in time, which was right about 2008 to date, we've been making almost all of our own custom biogas treating equipment in-house, and that's really where Advanced Biogas Systems was born. And then officially in 2012, we branded Advanced Biogas Systems. So timeline again, Enterdyne 91, Advance One 2006, Advanced Biogas Systems, I'm gonna say 2008, but officially in 2012. And then just recently, 2022, we branded Jade Biogas Engineering. And in between that timeline, from 91 to 2023, we have developed or helped develop, played a major part in the development of over 60 landfill gas to energy assets from North Carolina to California.
We're really well set up, having our hands around so many pieces of the value chain in landfill gas. The development piece, putting all the bookends together and the contracts that are required to build a project. We have a construction team. We're able to go build and maintain gas collection systems, manufacturing and packaging our own processing equipment, from a simple blower flare skid all the way through to a full-blown renewable natural gas production facility. It's constantly tweaking and improving the components and the pieces that go into our facilities. And then having in-house dedicated engineering for processes and projects, you put all four of those together and you can really be nimble and aggressive, and it just sets us up for some good growth moving forward.
In the infancy phase of the company, we didn't have any core values that I knew of. I knew that we believed in everything like that, but we hadn't established those words that, you know, we live by every day, that we hire by. Ever since we developed our core values, I think in your everyday job, you kind of keep those words in the back of your mind. Suddenly, if you're facing a challenge of some sort, it's motivating to embrace and embody those values.
I'll say early on, it really wasn't all culture. It really started out a lot as process. The culture aspects weren't focused on, but they were there. So my dad is a great dreamer and I'll say a great rainmaker, good at shaking trees, creating opportunities. He wasn't a great finisher, and he's still not good at structure. When you're an employee of a company, sometimes it's hard to tell the boss, you know, you're not good at this, or we need to do X. I think that my dad didn't get the resistance that he needed. And then whenever I came in, my dad didn't have a good relationship. You know, I told him what I felt like needed to be said, like, hey, there's got to be structure. And, you know, so I really became like the yin to his yang, and like it worked well. He would go rain and I'd pick up all the pieces and get them in order and help get things finished. And so I really started bringing structure to the business. As I started bringing structure to the business, with that comes more people and more processes. And as you're navigating that dynamic, you start to realize that, you know, you can't have one without the other, right? Like you have structure and process so that people can, I'll say, utilize that structure and process, but that people component is a really critical component. Otherwise, they're not going to follow the structure and the process. I really honed in on probably the most important thing that we could do as an organization is focus on people. And if you put people first, the other things will start to fall in the order that they should. You know, not to say that anything happens as fast as we want it to or goes quite as smoothly as we'd like it to, but you know, if we put people first, we will get there.
If you look at the mission statement, it's not to be the best landfill gas to energy developer. It's not to be the largest. It's not to make the most money. It's simply leave it better than you found it. If we're being good to ourselves and we're being good to our project partners or anybody else that we encounter in the marketplace, and we're following that guiding light, the results will follow.
Having been here for my entire career, I think that the numbers is the main thing that we've kind of seen, especially over the last 5 or 6 years. We started out with somewhere around 15 to 20 people, and now we're 60 plus. And every time we develop a project, there's new hires. We're taking on more and more construction projects where ABS is building all the skids for all the development projects. So there's just been a demand for more and more bandwidth as far as manpower.
We do have about 60 people or so right now, and that's not something that I focus on. But our vision is to be a company surrounded by people that embody our values and achieve our goals, is equitable, promotes purpose, and encourages employees to create a meaningful quality of life. And if we break that down segment by segment, you know, the first part is all about people. You know, to be a company that surrounds itself with people that embody our values. And if we do that, it might only be 3 people. And maybe that's how big the company is going to be. Or maybe it ends up being 300, or maybe it ends up being 3,000. As long as we're surrounding ourselves with good people, there's no number. The goal piece, again, we only look at that truly in 1-year increments. So we might say, hey, now we do have a goal to grow a certain number of projects in this particular year. But that's it. And as long as we're doing those things and we're fair and we're happy doing the things that we're doing and we have purpose in what we're doing, size doesn't matter.
I think over the last 5 years, we've seen a lot of consolidation in the space. So we're one of the very few smaller family-owned companies that are still in the landfill gas to energy space. A lot have been consolidated with other companies and then purchased. And in the early adopter phase, you were taking equipment that wasn't necessarily intended to operate with landfill gas and modifying or retrofitting it to be able to take advantage of the energy source. Once you get through the early adopter phase, then there was obviously a technology progression and more emphasis put on it and just more awareness to the ability to use landfill gas for something that's beneficial. Again, the consolidation in the market has brought a lot more money and investment into the space. And so you're seeing even more technology advancement and different applications coming into play, and don't see that slowing down.
It wasn't always like, this successful business. And I remember hearing stories about how the Brinkers felt very fortunate at the end of the week if they each, all the brothers and sisters, got a candy bar. So it was it's a kind of a self-made type situation for sure. And Will, being second generation, has just taken the hand off and he's ran with it.
It's an amazing story. The story of how Bill, was selling countertops, and then, a building blew up and they happened to get a phone call asking for help, and to see that for what it really could be, instead of just let's drill some wells here and move on and go back to what we were doing. To have that vision, to be able to say, like, we're going to take this gas and we're going to do something with it, is crazy.